Hello, I'm Nicholas. Come in. Come in. Into my home. Don't trip over anything, it's mad. Enjoy. Hello, my name is Nicholas Huxley and welcome to my home, welcome to my life. I am well known in the fashion industry. I've been a fashion educator for 45 years and over that time I've had a pretty exciting, exceptional life. I've been able to teach all over the world, to lecture, and I've been honoured with some lovely awards and nominations over the years. I started as a student. I was actually born in Lae in New Guinea, part of Papua New Guinea in 1955, February the 2nd, an Aquarian, so I break rules. And my dad up there, I was the middle of 5 boys, and my dad was the managing director of the Times Courier newspaper in Lae, and my mum eventually became the correspondent for the ABC. So I was brought up in a household of very interesting, culturally diverse, journalistic people. And my dad owning the newspaper was also very prominent in bringing people up to tour in New Guinea. So our house was always full of parties, lots of fun. It was a fantastic, wild upbringing. Eventually, the natives were getting restless and we moved down to Sydney. My brother was already boarding at Waverley College, a Catholic Christian Brothers College here in Waverley, and then we all went to the same school when we came down. And so I had a fantastic, it's been a great life. And so then what happened was, when I was finishing my HSC in 1972, my wonderful art teacher, Brian Teal, asked me what I wanted to do. And in those days, it was sort of like, it was acting or something to do with that, And then I said, I tried a little course at the ensemble, and I thought, I don't need to learn how to do this, I can do this, acting is natural. So I just realised that I needed a career that was about climbing the ladder. And I realised that I loved fashion. And so what I decided to do, Brian knew about the dress design studio at East Sydney Tech. He knew Ross Day, who was the head of the school then, and organised for me to go up and meet with him. And in 1973, I started a part-time 3-night-a-week course there at the dress design studio doing the certificate, and I worked as a cutter in the fashion industry, learning the ropes about how the fashion industry works. So I got very privy to wonderful parts of how it all works, with really down-to-earth, fantastic guys who taught me the ropes, and it was an amazing thing that I learned while being at college at night. And then what happened was Gough Whitlam got in 1973, and he put in tertiary allowance, which gave us students, courses for free, basically. And so I decided to do the full-time dress design course from 1974 to 1976. In those days, we started with 60 students in the first day, 58 girls and me, and 2 boys. And then by the end of third year, by the final year and the end of third year, there was 11 of us left, 10 girls and moi. And I loved every minute of it. I had a ball. I had a wonderful time. Still working with the boys part-time. I'd go over there on weekends to help them with cutting and all that sort of thing. And then, so in those days, it was so great because it didn't cost me anything, because I actually ended up getting all the fabric from the boys. They'd say, there's all these leftovers under the table, take what you want, blah, blah, blah. So it was very rare that I needed to go out and buy fabrics and you know, I mean, there was the wool award, so I had to buy wool and all that. But I was very lucky. I was lucky that everyone that I was working around and who I was, you know, learning from, were there to help me, and it was you know, it was a wonderful time. Remember, being a fashion design student in those days was a very exciting thing for us, because we not only had fantastic music, disco music like Barry White and Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight, you know, just the best of. We also had fantastic fashion. You know, like, you know, it was wild. The fashion in the 70s was so wild. So we'd spend our days, you know, learning, and then at the nights, a lot of the time, I'd be out at nightclubs dancing on the dance floor till 4 or 5 in the morning. We just had such a ball. Anyway, after all that, I left college, and my first job was at Q as a designer, the fantastic Rod Levis, a beautiful, wonderful man. And I learned so much in that year I was there. And then while I was there, and then I went and worked for a couple of other people, and I ended up working for a company called Arlo. And Arlo in Paddington was very known for being very individual, very different, quite a bit like Bieber in London. And while I was there, I got a call from Ross Day asking if I would like to come back as a teacher. He thought I'd be a very good teacher. And so what happened was I started there teaching illustration at night. One subject got more subjects, you know. Then I started to do daytime work, still freelancing with design. And then a job came up as a full-time teacher in 1984. I went for it, I got it. And that gave me the power to start doing things, you know, like taking our runway shows out of East Sydney Tech and the cell block. And, you know, I was very thinking, I did realise how much talent there was there, and I just thought the world should know it and Australia should know it. And so I sort of started to introduce designers with runway shows outside of the premises of East Sydney Tech, and it's, you know, it was amazing. 1990, the head of the school position came up, I went for it and I got it, and that was it. So, and it just got bigger and better, and then eventually what happened was I got to be part of the IFTI concern, which was about international fashion schools getting together from around the world and hosting everybody. And I got to go to India and, you know, London, New York, Los Angeles, Paris, Amsterdam, Florence, Brazil, all over the world with conferences every year. Thank you to a beautiful woman who I'm still friends with, Murray Person, who realised that me doing what I was doing was going to put the fashion design studio on the map, and TAFE as a whole. So that's what I did, and everything has progressed ever since then. In 2015, and I got an opportunity I was poached to go to Miami to set up the Miami Fashion Institute from scratch, and I jumped at the chance, and so I was there for a year from 2016 to 2017. I came back to a very different TAFE that I really didn't want to be part of anymore. I'd been having that adventure in Miami, just made me realise that this is what I wanted to do things more worldly, more internationally. So I sort of came back. In the meantime, I had been going in and out of Fiji, mentoring designers there too, so I already had that on the back burner. I was in an old super scheme, so I didn't need to work anymore full time. And so then I took up going in and out of Fiji, and I did that for nearly 10 years in Suva, mentoring the designers, getting them ready for Fiji Fashion Week. When I left college, I had an opportunity to go and work with the Maasai in Africa. So I went and lived in Nairobi and worked with the Maasai, which was an amazing experience for me. And so look, there's just been adventures after adventures, and it's all come back to me in a lot of ways. You know, they talk about karma and all that. Well, I've been very blessed. You know, I think the most important thing about my attitude is the fact that I've always had fun. And I've never made it look like work, because really when you're having fun, it isn't really work. And I've been very lucky to be surrounded by wonderful friends and a lovely lifestyle of my choosing. And yeah, I've just, it's been amazing. I've had the pleasure of teaching some really amazing, talented people, like Akira Zagawa and Nikki Zimmerman of Zimmerman label. The kids from Romance Was Born, Alex Perry, Bianca Spender, and it goes on and on and on. Many, just a lot of people who have done very well in the industry over the years. So I've been very, very blessed. And now you're in my home, my madhouse. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually walk around, and it's almost like I've always wanted to say this, hi AD, welcome, come in, right? And so what I'm going to do is just show you bits and pieces of my life and how it all works for me. I'm about to show you my madhouse. Look, I'm a very big believer that a home should be about the person, of course. And I always think that someone who comes into a house and has never met the person should always be able to write about who that person is without ever meeting them. So I'm eccentric, I'm eclectic, I love lots of things. I'm not sort of steered to one particular thing. I am a fashion person. I am very much a film person. I have a lot of film knowledge, which is probably my baby, which that knowledge has gone into fashion. And being born in New Guinea and living in Nairobi, I'm also very much about texture, tribal influences. If you look around my house, nearly everything has a texture to it, right? Or a print or something. I'm not into plain. I'm certainly not into beige. Anyway, so here's some of my artwork. As you can see, I can't fit it anywhere else. It's all done. A lot of individual things. I've been, I buy things from the Paris markets. They're all. Everything here is authentic, right? I've got it. This is an artist from Vietnam. Oh well, this is a funny story because when I was in Vietnam the first time, I went into this gallery and they were saying to me that they could copy anything I wanted them to copy and do it beautifully. And I thought, yeah, for sure. Let's just see how that goes. Anyway, so what I got him to do was copy this Klimt, and they did a beautiful job of it, right? So I actually love it. I think that they did an amazing job of it. My saints paintings, I bought all of these in Brazil, right? I'm a Catholic and I've got a lot of faith. So my house has got a lot of religious influences in it, and you'll notice that. Oh, of course, Elizabeth Taylor, too, my favourite actress. So I've got a lot of artwork of Elizabeth Taylor. So these were bought at the French in Paris markets. I bought that. That was rolled up. This is an amazing little story. That was rolled up at the Paris markets in a cardboard box, and I said, and I opened it up. And I asked them, and it just looked so beautiful. And I said to them, how much is that? And he hummed and he said, oh, €10. What a bargain, right? I bought this in America, not last year, the year before when I was there, an American artist. I've got original lithographs from Matisse and Poleshchuk, and down there is Picasso, So we've got all this, right? And as we drift along, as you can see by my couch, everything is textured, like beaded prints, no print, all embroidery, right? Yes, and real zebra. Then we come up here. Now you'll notice the little masks up the top that are around the top of the room. I bought those on a few of my trips to Mexico, and they are little coconut shells, right? It's just amazing what poor people can do just with their hands and their ideas. So they're little coconut shells that have had this little paper mache faces put on top of them, and every single one of them is different. They're all so different, and they're whimsical and quirky, and I love them. I just absolutely love them. And then we go around here. This is a very old beaded, it's beaded with shells. Very, very old. I bought that in Indonesia a few years ago. One of my pieces of artwork up there that I did, a homeless man. And if it's a mixed media. It's got ripped paper, layers of paper that I've sort of chiseled away at to create this old, lived-in face of this man. We go around here. National Art School. I always go to the National Art School exhibitions, and you always find something quite fabulous. I bought those two from there years and years ago. As I said, I'm a film nut. The Oscar, right? Everything I bought her, which is one of my favourite pieces. I bought her at the markets in Paris. She was on. In those days, a lot of it was outdoors, and she was on a rug. And I was with a girlfriend of mine, Anita, and I loved her. And the neck was broken. She was, it was in two pieces. And she said, but the neck's broken. And I said, you know what? That's her journey, and that's why I love it. Because it's her journey, and I love her. She's very beautiful. Stuff from Tangiers and blah 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 blah. A portrait I did of Elizabeth Taylor when I was teaching illustration at college. At the Fashion Design Studio. As you can see, I love tribal, so I bought that in Miami, and it's covered in nails. If you look clearly, there's all these nails sticking out of it, and I've got it at the entrance here because there's a story about it in the fact that the nails represent protection, and it represents the protection of your home if you have it at the entrance. So that's why I've got that there. Beautiful Sepik masks and shields that I've bought over the years. Then we've got here this fabulous statue of St. Joseph, right, which is very beautiful. Very old beads, beautiful old. Look at these monks' beads. I'll tell you a story. This is a very naughty story. A friend of mine I went to school with, right, lived next door to this place she used to do beading and fix all these repairs for the Catholic Church. And there was a window open one day, and he and I went in, and they had prices and everything, so everything was going up for auction. And I just saw these, and they're like 150 years old or something, and someone was coming in the front door, and so I stuffed them down my pants, and we climbed out the back window, and so I stole them. And I absolutely love them. Right, so we're going to come in here. Follow me in here. Right, so some more New Guinea stuff. Right, more tribal. And then, as you can see, there's so much to look at. Gold. Some more tribal stuff in here, some beautiful masks. I just love all the handwork, some of my art, all this beautiful handwork, a bit of, Fijian stuff and, Africa, and, I bought this in Arusha in Tanzania, and it's clever what they've done. This is sculpture that they've just used all this old stuff and put it all together to create a wall hanging. They always say every picture tells a story. Well, there's a hell of a lot of stories here. Everything's bought from all over the world. Okay, so this is, I was talking to you before about my award, some of the awards I've won and bits and pieces and all that. Look, because I'm an extrovert, I've been very lucky in that if I've seen a film star or whatever, you know, whoever, somewhere in the world or what, you know, I don't hesitate by going up and saying hello, right? I've met some fantastic people. I've become great friends with some of them over the years. And, you know, they're just people like us, and they wouldn't be stars if it wasn't for the fans. So I've been very blessed in that I've met a lot of, and this wall shows some of the people that I've met. I made a dress for Nicole Kidman. That one there is Oscar-winning actress Patty Duke, who won an Academy Award for The Miracle Worker. This is Betty Davis and me at the Opera House. I was a fashion student and I did a portrait, because I wanted to meet her. I did a portrait of her, you know, as you do in those days, and she loved the portrait. She never saw it in colour until the night of, and I presented her to her at the Opera House when I was 20. How old was I? 20? About 20. Right. Tony Curtis, Alec Baldwin. Right, Zsa Zsa made her an outfit when she was here, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Vivienne Westwood, right, and then we go up a little bit. The Whitlams, wonderful, Golf and Margaret Whitlam, wonderful mates, really lovely people, you know. My nomination for the Australian Academy Award for that one, for costumes I did for a film. And then there's little bits and pieces, I've been nominated for the Fashion Laureate 9 times. It's a record. No one's ever come near 9 times. And I never won, but I think that what was so lovely about it was the fact that it kept me relevant. You know, I got nominated, and very unusual for being in the education part of fashion, but you know, it kept me relevant, and I'm very proud of the fact that I was nominated 9 times. Anyway, so we've got up here, so there's some, you know, the Fashion Laureate nominations. Up there on the left-hand side was I am in the Hall of Fame of the Designers Guild of Australia, which was an enormous achievement for me. I love that. I'm there I'm at the Walk of Soul. This is another of the plaque. There's the plaques actually in the footpath there, which is really lovely. This was voted one of the 100 most influential people in Sydney in that time, 2008. And anyway, so this is all my mad bits and pieces, and so I collected that beautiful with all the new young actors, right? Anyway, that's my movie bit. Okay, so we're going around here. I know that this is a nightmare for a lot of people. A lot of people could never live in this. But I always believe that when you're at home and you're by yourself and you look around and everything, you can talk about everything in the house. You can talk about where you bought it, when you bought it, maybe the adventure of how you ended up buying it. I think that's all very, very, very special. Okay, in we go, in here. And this is just a little bit of, okay, so when I was living in Africa, right, I did the patterns, and I actually got a woman named Rebecca from the Maasai tribe to bead it for me, right? I worked within a Maasai initiative, which was sort of redesigning and making their clothes a little bit more accessible to the world. And we also worked on jewellery and, you know, like using old buttons to create jewellery, etc., etc. And then we come in here. And as you see, every room is the same. Every room has got so much going on with it. I'm in the middle of the painting at the moment, right? All of these are movie stars, and they are all authentic autographs. Nothing's copied here, they're all authentic, and I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more. So you've got, you know, I've got Betty Davis, and I've got Katharine Hepburn, Sidney Poitier, and, you know, all of them. All the biggest stars, Laurence Olivier, and, yeah, bits and pieces. Those shoes, I bought those at an auction in Los Angeles many, many years ago. They were Marilyn Monroe's shoes, right? And my mum and dad wedding photo. And as you can see, so it's just, everything's got a story. So anyone who comes and sleeps and stays at my house, this is where they sleep. So they have, they're surrounded by the stars, you know, they can never be lonely. Anyway, so we go through here, and then we've got this. My wonderful friend Jeff Griggs in LA did that portrait of me many, many years ago after I did a portrait of him. So he thought he'd do the same. Right, there's a collection, some of my CDs. It's wonderful having someone build you an actual CD shelf. And then we're gonna walk in, and these were done by they're all original, and they were done by 2 artists in LA over many, many years that I collected all the movie stars. And now what we're going to do, we're going to go into my workspace. Funny thing is, this is where I am in the morning. I get up, I make myself a cup of coffee, I get a little bit of breakfast, I come in here. The first thing I do, I go onto my computer and I wish everybody a happy birthday. I think it is really important. I've got friends from all over the world, and I am not a poo-poo about Facebook. I think Facebook is fantastic because it's not only about visuals, but it's also about stories. You know, and I'm much more about stories. You know, I do Instagram now and then, but it's not my cup of tea compared to this, right? So I wish everyone a happy birthday. I watch The View every morning to know what's going on politically in America, and then I sort of finish around 11ish, sometimes 12. I take my time. I watch a lot of reels and all that sort of stuff. This is my relaxing, quiet time of the morning. I am not an early person. I get up around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Okay, so I've got one of my best friends, Anita's my best friend, and her daughter Shannon, who I taught at fashion design. She has a gorgeous little boy named Lachlan, and on April the 5th he's going to be 1. And I wanted to give him something very special, so I've been doing this piece of artwork for him here. Still got a lot of work to do on it, right, which will be framed and put in his room. As you see, I said, I'm always doing something. I've always got some action happening. Now, what I was going to say, which is really important to me, and it's as simple as it is, are my patterns, right? At the moment, I'm making a lot of shirts, and I'm going to show you a few. But the basic block sleeve, right, front and back, collar, but I've got trouser patterns, I've got everything here, different sizes, right? It's so important to me. You know, once you get a really good fit with patterns, everything I've ever done, I've done thousands of wedding dresses over the years. I've made ball dresses, wedding dresses, bridesmaids, blah, 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 blah. And everything is from these patterns. So if you're a designer that you love working with beautiful fabrics and that, it's really important to have fantastic, good fitting patterns. Okay, in we go. Come on. Speaking of costume designers, look at that. Winner of 8 Academy Awards, Edith Head. Right, signed by Edith. Here we go. The poor photographer, he's having a field day tripping over everything in this house. All right, come on. So this is my bedroom, and this is where I do all my sewing, right? So I never ever put my sewing machine away, because nearly every day I'll be doing some sort of sewing, whether it be a buttonhole, sewing on a button, you know. I actually use a piece of board that I put on my dining table, cut everything out, and then I bring it in here, lay it across on the bed, and then do my sewing. So at the other day, I bought, now everything I'm showing you, right, were once upon a time ladies' dresses. So what I do is, we're going to go and do it today actually, but this was a lady's dress that I loved. Where's the bit? There we go. Right, so this is all little leftover bits, right? And that was, you know, you look at something and realise, is there enough fabric in the dress, right? Can I get a shirt out of it, which is a front and back? and 2 sleeves. And so that worked with that one. This one was actually, where did I buy this? I bought that at Vinnie's in Paddington, but this was a dress. And then this fabric here was another dress, nothing to do with that, but it matched, right? And they're both sort of suede feel to it. That's a bit that I had left over, a little bit of stuff that I put into it, right? So that's that. And then another one, which is all about, you know, this was like a scarf, big scarf, and originally I adapted it into a sarong when I was in Fiji for one of the awards nights, and then I realised that afterwards I would never wear it as a sarong here, so I decided to redo it into something where I would actually wear it. And so I created a shirt. I found this was part of a dress, all beaded, right? And then I needed fabrics to bring it all together, so I found this stripe in another piece that actually went with it. The thing about designing is you have to know what you're doing. You have to know colour, proportion, balance, all the elements and principles. And that's how it works, right? You have to know what goes with what. So suddenly I put a stripe in there, right? Which is like, there was no stripe, but the whole idea was the fabric itself in that was actually a stripe. It created a stripe in the print. So, and then there's an olive green. So I actually picked this other to go with it, to add to it, right? Because that is the only amount of fabric I had to do the top. And then of course, I love fringing in that. I love it. I love a variety of textures in one thing. So I put fringing into it to make it a little bit more interesting. All right, so, and then we open all this up, and you'll see this is like pushing a baby back in a womb, right? So these are some of the shirts I've done with using using ladies' dresses, right? So I'm just going to throw them down here. There's one. There's another. I love doing them. You know why I enjoy it is because it only takes me a day and a half to make it. You know, and I'm not one of those people who sit the whole time and just don't stop to get up, I have some lunch, I do other things. That's another one. This is another one. So this is sort of cute because I like the idea of, this had a frill in it. So I didn't want to get rid of the frill because I liked it, so I stitched it onto the collar. See what I did? Just to add another texture to it. Winter, I'll wear that in winter. Right, here's another one. They get it. You know what the funny thing is? You get addicted to it because it's always so much fun doing these, you know, recreating clothes from secondhand. I love the fact that you can go in, find things, and give them a new life. Like there's another one. So that was part of an old, like a kimono, a Japanese kimono, very old fabric. So I had that and put that together. So, right, It's another one. So it's really funny. I mean, when you see them stand alone like this, you're like, where's he going to wear that? But when you put a jacket on top and all that, it all starts to work. And I go on and on and on and on and on, many. So many things here, look. And here's a winter one. So that's 2 different tops, but that works with that. That's why I bought it. Right, now, what we're going to do here, I'm just going to show you, right, always remember that when you're looking for things, look beyond the basics of what's there. Now, anyone who sews will know if you go to Spotlight and buy, you know, buttons, they're expensive, right? Very expensive. So what I do, sometimes like Vinnie's or Salvos, mainly Salvos, they have always a sale rack. So the other day, I didn't buy the shirt for this, but I bought it because it had so many black buttons on it and it was on sale for $2, right? So that's what I'm saying. You look and see where you can, where you can save some money, and it's all being sustainable, giving everything a new life. All right, so we've got bits and pieces, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go on a little trip. We're going to go to Vinnie's, and I'm going to show you the process of how I find bits and pieces and why I do what I do to bring them all together to create a garment from it. Well, here we are at Savers. I'm going to actually show you how I go about buying second-hand. And normally I pick one thing and then everything that else goes around that one thing, take it all apart and then recreate a new garment from it. It's all about being sustainable. Very important in this day and age. When you see the size of this, and it's all second-hand at really inexpensive prices, it's fabulous. So this is where everyone should be coming shopping. You've got Vinnie's, you've got Savers, you've got Salvos. Any place like this is where you're going to get some great bargains. So follow me. So what I do is, because I'm sewing this myself, well, I've got Fashion Week coming up, I've always got events coming up, I always like to find something really interesting, textural, that I can work with. And this is so I'm walking along, right, and I start, knitwear's not good, because knitwear, I wear jackets and things, so knitwear I get too hot, so I don't, unless I want to do a knitted sleeve or something like that. But see, I'm always looking for something that I can work with that's interesting. When I see it, I grab it. See, even just as a garment, that's really cute. Fun. $13.49, there you go, see? And that's a little bit of a statement, that's actually quite fun. I would never wear that only because I get too hot, but that's fun. And you could make that look so expensive. Sometimes it's the luck of the draw, sometimes you'll find something fantastic that you know exactly what you've got to look for to go with it. Other times, I've been in here many times where I've found nothing. A lot of the time, when we walk over to where the dresses are, you start to look for something that's actually got quite a lot of fabric in it, which means that you can get a whole garment out of the one fabric. I'm going to India at the end of the year to do some work over there. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to be using a lot of old shawls and wraps and scarves, showing the Indian students how to take them apart and recreate them into really modern, beautiful clothes that look very international, not saris, just beautiful gowns and things, so that's going to be fun. So you can actually work with anything if you've got the intelligence and the knowledge to make it work. Oh, there you are. Hello, me again. Now, so I've gone through and I'm looking for something particular that I can work from, right? And then I found this. Right, so I love the print, right? It's only viscose, but I love the print. The only problem with the print is it's been cut on the side, right? So I'm not getting the full centre front. So what I need to do is I'm going to use that, but I've got to find fabrics that are going to go with it. So I get enough fabric to create a shirt from, right? So I've got that's going to be my base. That is my main piece. And now I'm going to find things. So I've been scrounging through, looking around, right? Now, there's got to be, in any collection you do, there has to be a collection that has a connection. And it's the same as doing this. I've got to find things, colour-wise, that go with this. So I'm looking for dirty pinks, dirty greys, black, white, this beautiful teal blue, beautiful brick colour, right? So I found that. I've chopped, like a lot of this has been chopped up, so, right, I've got this, and you can see the connection. So this pink is sort of in there and the black's in there. Right, so that I'm going to use that. I don't know when. Next time I will be filmed, it'll be finished and you can see what I do with it, right? So we've got that. We've got cream, off-white, and that dirty charcoal, almost grey. So I love the idea of the spot, right, which is quite refreshing. It's dramatic. It's an interesting print next to this, right? I love the idea of this together. I have no idea how I'm going to put it together yet, right? I picked that too purely because there's enough in there to actually make a shirt for me, but I can use pieces of it in places if I want to, right? I've got this, right? Purely for the lace, the embroidered fabric, the scallops and all that sort of stuff. So I'll add that to this. And there's sort of an idea of this through this. You know, the swirls and the peaks and all that. And it's got a similar vein of design in this. So I'll be using that in it too. There's a lot in this one only because I've got to make enough for a shirt, okay? And then lucky last, so I've got shine, I've got 100% cotton, right? I've got the lace with all that really dramatic edging, but I wanted another texture and I thought it'd be very nice to have sleeves in a knit, right? A bit more sporty, right? And so I'm doing that I'm going to cut out 2 sleeves in this. I'll have the sleeves not long enough, so I'll be adding something to it, right? And the sleeves will be, and as you can see with this, right, how well that's actually going to work, and it's going to be fun. And it changes the whole feel of it from being a sort of quite soft and gentle and a bit feminine. Suddenly the sporty sleeve brings in another feel to it, right? And that's what I love about putting a knitwear into it too. So you can see there's a colour, there's a similar use of colour. We've got the mint green, right? We've got the black, we've got the sort of a beigey colour through there too. So this is how it all gels. But you know, also when you're doing all this, you've got to think about price. And if you like this, that cost me, I think that cost me about altogether $60 all this, right? Pretty good, right? Especially when you think that it's going to end up as a one only shirt, the one only in the whole world, right? So what I've done here, I've picked this area, which is mainly dresses, and the dresses are where you know you're going to find a lot more fabric in one garment, and it's a lot of the time enough fabric to make a shirt. So as we're walking along, right, you'll see I get attracted to certain things with work on them, embroidery, you know, something like that. Now, I would only buy that for that. I wouldn't buy it because there's not enough in it. I like the trim. I'd put that trim onto something else, right? And so that's what I'd be attracted to, that the work in it, the cultural work in it that makes it more interesting, okay? And we walk along. As I said before, you've got to be really fussy. You've got to know what you're doing. Like, you know, that's got a lot of fabric in it for a shirt, but that is really boring. So I would not be buying that. Another thing I don't ever buy, straight jersey. I just find jersey a little bit cheap. I like handwork. Look at that, see? Look, wow. So that's got some great parts to it. The only problem with it is there's not enough fabric in it in a way to make a shirt for me. I'd have to add other things to it, but I love the fabric. I think the fabric's great. Look, I'm thinking now, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get this, just because I look at it and I think I actually could do something with it. This is the fun part of it all, is if you see something and then you go, oh well, I could probably do something. Now for me, I would probably need to, this is for winter, it's not a summer fabric, it's an acetate. right? But I could, look, it's a seed, but $29.49. So look, I see all this is great, all this is fun, and I know I could do something with it to make it great for me. Okay, so see that, now see that amount of I'm not getting that, but what I'm saying is with the frill, so there's a lot more fabric in that bottom of the skirt, right? It's an all over print, which means that you can cut it vertically or horizontally, and there'd be enough fabric in there for a shirt, for a guy's shirt, right? So that's what I'm saying, that's what I'm looking for. The thing about shops like this, they get new stock in every week. So if you leave it 2 weeks and you come in again, you'll see so many new things. It always tends to be a little bit, if you're creative and love doing what I do, you get really excited about the fact that there's always new stock in. So people ask me, how do I spend my day? It's a simple life, the very simple life. Finding things that are inexpensive, creating something new out of it. And what's so lovely at the end of it all, there's an end result. There's a garment that you can wear. Another thing too, because this, once I finish with it, it won't look girly. It'll still have all the beading and all that, but what I'd like to do is add some sort of like a, almost a Nike or a stripe that's quite sporty to take it away from the girly and make it a little bit more masculine in a way. Isn't it funny? I just look at these places and go, how can people, I mean, it's terrible for me to be doing it because it's not really good for our fashion industry, but in another way, it's about being sustainable. And in this day and age, a lot of people don't have the money. So to be able to come in here, and if you've got good taste and you know what you're doing, you can dress really well. I know I could do a whole runway show at Fashion Week only using this and make it look spectacular. And you know, the whole thing is also, if you don't find something on the one day, right? I've got that other shirt to make, haven't I? So I'm not in a hurry to get this one done. Okay, so there's another thing. This is navy, and there's navy, right? The only problem with putting that with that is the print is so strong. It's almost quite a tribal print. So what happens is, if I put that with this, you'll be looking at that print more than the work in this. So the work in this will be a little bit more subtle, and that's so loud that that's what everyone will be looking at, and I don't want that. I want it to be on an equal platform, equal weight. So that's going back. So I am looking for some sort of a graphic, but it can't be a graphic that's already like a very well-known Australian label, because I don't want them to think that my clever design is a PE nation. Now, I sort of like this. It's navy and it goes sort of well with it, but what I like about it is, I like the idea that there's a sheer to it. But what I like the idea of is when I put this on a sleeve, but I cut the sleeve that way. So the stripe would be going this way across, not downwards. I think it'd look a lot more interesting. So I think that would work really quite nicely. So the stripe, yeah, would go down. I'll get that, that's cool. That's $17.99, it's a COS. Right, very expensive label, $17.99. Of course, what'll happen is these will all be taken apart, right? I'm taking everything apart. Like I'll be taking the gathering out of that, flattening everything, so I've actually got flat pieces that I know I'm going to work with, right? So that I can put my patterns onto to recreate it. It's about being sustainable. And in this day and age, a lot of people don't have the money. So to be able to come in here, and if you've got good taste and you know what you're doing, you can dress really well. I know I could do a whole runway show at Fashion Week only using this and make it look spectacular.